know, all of our 3 kids and their families live out of state and quite a ways out of state, and we don't get to see them too often, and so it's really fun to have Kyle and Callie and Miles and Landon here this morning. But Kyle and Callie have been on a journey for a number of years, and the journey's continuing, but God's orchestrating the journey, and it's so much fun to see. But I wanted Kyle, since they were able to visit during this time, I wanted him to share this morning because, and I told him this, I see faith in his life and in their lives. I truly do. And when there's faith in our lives, that means that our lives are becoming about him. If you're a person of faith, it means that your life is about Jesus. It's about the Lord. And it's about what he's doing and what he has. And so I wanted him to share a little bit his journey this morning and what's going on. And so Kyle, why don't you come? Okay, let's give him a Hillman welcome, please.
Well, it's good to be here. Do you ever get in your vehicle and you get in there and you're headed to your destination, and you get to your destination and you have no idea how you got there? And that's kind of how I feel right now. But let's pray, because I need a lot of prayer. Father, you are so good. Thank you for this church, Lord. Thank you for everybody in here. I just see growth, and I just the love I feel in here, Lord, is just overwhelming, Lord. Just speak through me. We love you. Amen. Well, I think the last time I was here has been 4 years ago since Dad let me come and kind of share my story. And I've seen a lot of changes, a lot of new faces here, which is really good to see. I got to talk to somebody, some of you, as I walked in. Obviously, the biggest change I see in town is Quick Trip. Yeah, I stopped there 4 times already. I'm kind of a gas station connoisseur. I love gas stations. We got a couple in Florida. One is called Racetrack. The other is called the Wawa. I don't know, something about it. My kids, every time we stop to get gas, they're like, can we go in? Can we go in? So I think I kind of spoiled them. The Lord has definitely had Callie and I and the kids definitely on a journey. I was kind of thinking of what to kind of, the message, kind of give it a title. I kind of came up with the journey, the fear of the journey, fear to the journey, all kinds of the basic journeys that kind of what I've came up with. But a lot of you guys don't know me. Obviously, I'm Randy's boy. And I was kind of the black sheep of the family, if you want to say. I wouldn't say the black sheep. I'm more the gray sheep. I've kind of done things a little differently growing up. But I think the last time I was here, the backstory was that fear was a big contributor of my life. It ruled my life for many, many years, just from aspects when I was little, and it's kind of carried over into my adulthood. And I think the pivotal point that I was at a point in my life when Callie and I were married, that fear was so ingrained in me that I just kind of had this mindset of I'm only this person and I can only do that. And so I just kind of was comfortable in that kind of realm. And I think what kind of brought that out of me in a different direction was in 2013, Callie, we found out that we were pregnant, and found out we were pregnant with twins. We were all really excited. And then when Miles and Wesley were born, Wesley had some complications, and this kind of a whirlwind of emotions kind of came over me and the whole family. And long story short, she was only on this earth for 9 months. And so that kind of 9 months really kind of, catapulted us and me into this new direction, and the Lord started stirring me inside. And so when I came here 4 years ago to kind of share that story, that kind of started us on this new path. And I can vividly remember after we got done, with the service, and I think it was the church picnic at the time, and we just felt the love of all you guys, because basically you guys, even though you guys weren't there physically, you guys were praying for us, and we just felt your your love through that whole, kind of period of our life. And so that kind of started us on this path, and we felt that the move to Mora. And so I had a business at the time, and I sold it, and it was kind of a big change for us because we had our lives down there, and but we felt like Mora was the place for us to come. So we moved here, and I moved here first. Callie and kids were still trying to finish some stuff down here, and I found a job with a guy in town, and I felt like this is good. This is the Lord's calling, and I felt right about it. And then I'm going to go back to the definition of the journey. I kind of looked it up, and it says traveling to a place usually taking a rather long time. And so I know that's not what you kind of want to hear when you're trying to, this journey is going to take a long, long time. But nothing was working out in the sense of making it easy for me. The guy that I was didn't work out, and I'm not going to go into it. And then now I'm survival mode. I'm like, all right, I got to find a job. And so a lot like what you guys do, I found one in the cities. So I started doing the whole commuting thing. And the guy that I was working with in the cities was the craziest guy I've ever met in my life. Jekyll and Hyde, just the nicest guy one day, and then my first experience on the job was I walked into the shop at the time, first day, and he got in a shouting match with the employees. They're going at it back and forth, cussing, and I was like, what did I get myself into? But so it was hard, but in the same sense, it was hard for me, obviously trying to get this job and trying to survive. It was exactly what we needed for our family, the love and support you guys were shown. I think it was just the atmosphere of Mora. Callie just fell in love with the people. The kids just absolutely loved everybody. I think it was just what we needed. Obviously, it was hard for me, so I'm still trying to figure out the whole job deal, and it was a low part of my life because I was like, I hate this job. Why am I doing this? I'm making pennies. We're barely surviving. And but God had me in that section, or that job at the time for a reason, but I didn't see it at the time. I'm just in the mud, basically, just trying to, just get through it. And then I only made it 6 months with that guy because I can stomach him. But then Mr. John Nutt came to me, and he was like, let's go truck driving. So I went out to North Dakota and tried to get a little experience out there, helping him shovel snow for a little while. And then I still had my Florida license at the time, so I flew back to Florida to get all, with my CDL and Class A, and got all that situated, and then flew out to North Dakota. And that's where I feel like the Lord and me really started having fist fights and matches, because driving truck, and I'm sure a lot of you have, it's tough. And me, a city boy, didn't know anything about anything when it comes to trucks or anything like that. It was very challenging, very, very challenging. Probably the most challenging part of my whole life, in the sense of you're out in North Dakota, middle of nowhere, in a truck, by yourself, for hours and hours and hours, lack of sleep, and you're meeting crazy people out there, crazy truck drivers. And I just remember I'm at a truck stop, middle of nowhere, and I'm like, how did I get here? How did I get here? But you know what? God had me at that time for a reason. And if it wasn't for John, I would not be out there. And he was just the best support I could ever ask for a friend and a boss. Like, he was on my side the whole time. He knew exactly what I was going through. And I think God still really started just digging in me, and bringing up stuff that I was holding on for years and years and years. And it was fear. Obviously, I was fearful of the job, on the unknown, scared for my life in many aspects, just crazy. But God met me there. And at the time, I didn't think, I was like, where are you, Lord? I'm like, where are you? But he was there the whole time, even though I didn't see him. And he's kept chipping away at me, kept chipping away. And he was bringing things out, and stuff like I was holding on to for a long time, and he started working between me and Callie, stuff that I was holding on to that I needed to let go and really work through. And he just started, it just kind of like, it's just hard to describe, but it was a good thing, even though it was hard, extremely hard for me and hard for us. It really started bringing out a lot of good things. And at that time, I don't know, it's kind of weird as I speaking to you and thinking about it. It's bringing back a lot of emotional memories, because I remember Callie, she would call me when I was, driving, and when you watch those shows, Survivor shows, and people get the end of their, stay, and they're, 100 pounds, and they're not eating hardly at all, and they're emotional. That's exactly how I felt. She'd call me, and I'd start bursting out bawling, like, oh, I'm having a hard time driving, But and I think at the time, so that job came in, and it's funny, I just knew at the time where I was like, I have to move on. And I talked to John. He was so gracious and totally understood. And we just felt the call back to Florida. And I think looking back at our time here, it was a healing time for us. That's why God had us here, to have you guys around us, to heal from, the loss of Wesley. And at the time, you're thinking, Lord, like, why did you move me here? It's so hard for me, and nothing's working out. That's what I was thinking. Nothing's working out in my life at all. I'm going back in life, in a sense. The American dream, or how it is, you're supposed to go up, 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 up. And better pay, better job, bigger house, blah 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 blah. I feel like I started with that when I was 20, 21, and now I'm going back this way, and like, that doesn't make sense. But I feel like it was a healing time, definitely for Callie and I and the kids, just to take a step back in life and just be as a family. And you guys had a huge part in that. You really did. And it till this day, that's why I think when we come here, it just refreshes us. It really does. And it's funny, yesterday we were downtown Mora walking and trying to get Miles a haircut, and we're just walking down Main Street, and there's that new candy shop in town, and went in there and has all the old candy, and we walk out, and then the mailman's walking down the street and saying, and Callie's in love with Hallmark movies and shows, and I feel like we're in a Hallmark movie. It's just like, hi to the man, and got a soda pop, and it was just like, it's crazy, but it feels so good to us. It just it definitely revives us. But after that job, with John, we just felt like the Lord was calling back to Florida, and I didn't know why, but we made the move, and Callie got a job back there, and but I was still searching. I didn't know why. I still don't know what I was doing, even though we moved back to Florida, and I was still lost. And so I was helping a friend with his job for a little while, but still lost as all get out, and we were struggling financially, and I was still up. I was like, what's going on? It's been 5 years, 6 years, kind of since we lost Wesley, and I'm still, in this maze, and I don't know what's going on. Then finally, a good friend of ours that we've known for a long time had a home inspection business, and he's been bothered me forever, for about 10 years, to come and join him. And I don't know, we just talking, it just kind of all happened so that everything kind of lined up for me to kind of jump. And that was another thing of me being fearful. All right, starting something brand new again. Don't know anything about anything when it comes to home inspections or anything like that. So I started doing schoolwork and going to Miami for classes and all that stuff. And in the meantime, I got a job at night cleaning our church. So once again, it's like, I'm studying during the day, cleaning at night. This time we moved in with some friends because we couldn't afford a place. Man, I'm doing awesome at life right now. Just all this stuff has just kind of just been crazy. And But God's been working, and he's been chiseling me and stretching me, and boy, has he been stretching me to the point where I was almost going to break. Me and Callie almost going to break. And but we have such friends down there and that just, speak truth into our lives, and they were praying for us the whole time, and you guys have been praying for us. So I'm kind of like, I told Callie, I was like, I only got 20 minutes here. I see the clock, so I'm trying to, I want to be, we got the Vikings game, so I got to get to the Vikings game. Got a pot roast going on, so, all that good stuff. But it's just been a crazy, crazy time. And so kind of fast forward to just the last couple months. About 7 months ago, we got word that Callie's dad was kind of diagnosed with this rapid dementia, and his health wasn't doing so good, and it was kind of crazy time, and to see his health kind of decline so rapidly. And she was in Georgia visiting them quite a bit just to kind of be with him, and and all of a sudden out of nowhere it just kind of took over his body, and and he passed away about a month ago, and that was just just to see your spouse go through something like that, and I think it just kind of just once again, why you're asking the Lord, why is this happening? And so when we were up there for the funeral, and it was just an unbelievable funeral. God was definitely there, and a lot of Roy's co-workers over the years came, and so many people accepted Christ at his funeral, which was it was so powerful. It was so powerful. But we had, after the funeral that night, we were sitting out on Callie's parents' front porch, just talking about life, and we're like, there's something that we need to change, and we didn't know what we needed. I felt, and over this time, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of rabbit trails and squirrel, kind of deal. God has been changing me kind of this whole time, in the sense of fear, like I was kind of sharing before, but now fear was kind of being brushed away from me, and I was kind of being reborn in the sense of, for this whole time, ever since I was little, I thought I was an introvert. Dad's kind of introvert. He likes to be, at the barn doing his thing, but I'm kind of more like my mom, as Sherry, and but I thought I was an introvert but basically it was fear. I was fear, to just stay in my lane, but God has kind of been like, no, you're an extrovert. You love people. And so it's kind of been growing, and you can ask my kids. We'd be out grocery shopping or everywhere. I'm talking to people, and they're like, "Where's Dad?" And I don't even know I'm doing it. I'm just talking to people. It's been coming out in me, we've really been jumping in full time at our church in the sense of serving. I'm part of our greeting team. People walk in, and I'm just talking to people left and right, and I'm not even knowing I'm doing it, but it's coming natural to me, and it's exciting. And from where I was standing 4 years ago on the stage to what I'm feeling right now is 180. I remember when I first got it 4 years ago, I could barely look up at you guys, I felt like. But now I just feel like there's this freedom. I have this freedom in me. And anyway, so after on our drive home from Georgia from her dad's funeral, we decided that we're just going to start fasting and praying to see what the Lord had for us, because we just knew that there was a change that needed to happen, and we didn't know what. We know we're on that crest of something, but we didn't know what. So we went on this 7-day fast, and if everybody fasted, it is challenging. We went no food, and it was hard. It was hard. And I remember day 3 or 4, we were sitting that night, we put the kids down, and we just started talking, and we didn't know what, and I was like, honey, I'm like, what do we do? I didn't know what to do, and I said, honey, what am I good at? what am I good at? Kind of give them if you could do anything, what would you do? What kind of deal? And I was like, babe, what am I good at? She's like, well, you love people. And I go, well, how can I make money at that? There's nothing out there for that. And I said, I want to work with you. I'm like, what can we do together? I want to work with you. And so, go on the stuff in our minds. But that week, I talked to the guy that I was working with, and he's just an awesome Christian dude. And I sat down with him, and I just felt like, I just kind of wanted to see the kind of the next year, what he had, just kind of financial, and see where I could be and stuff. It was a great conversation, and I'm getting a little more involved at our church. We're opening up a new campus, and have a new pastor comes on board, and we've kind of really meshed. And so I've been, just kind of getting more involved in that aspect. And so I was kind of open and honest with them about that, and nothing, just more volunteer-based, basically what I was kind of talking. And he was just really on board. So we had a great conversation. But then we got a call from one of our main pastors, and they have 2 kids the same age as Miles and Landon, and they wanted to get together on the weekend just to have a play date and hang out. We're like, great. And of course, Callie and I were like, all right, what are they going to ask us? Are they going to ask us to lead a group, or ask us about homeschool, because we're going to start homeschooling the kids next year, and all that kind of stuff. And got there and sat at the dinner table, and then she was like, we like you guys to come on staff at our church. And totally out of the blue, just took me for a ride. My brain wasn't there. I was just like, what? I'm like, no way. I'm like, and so through my years, there was many things I said I would never do. And the first one is I would never get married. Well, obviously I got married. And then I convinced Callie when we got married to never have kids. Well, that didn't work out, so we had kids. And I said I would never move back to Minnesota. Well, we did that. And then when we were moving to Minnesota, I said I would never move back to Florida. And then all these years, I said I would never work in the ministry or be a pastor. And when we were going through our challenging time with the loss of Wesley, a good buddy of ours took us to a sporting event, and he was asking me at the time, he's like, what could you see yourself doing? And the whole deal again of if money wasn't an issue. And back then, in 2013, I felt the nudge in my heart, and it said speaking. And back then, that was like so foreign, so scary. But to see the 6 years of God chiseling and molding me, I'm to the point now where I'm now stepping into ministry, and Callie and I are going to be pastors, which is very crazy for me here to say that. I'm going to be the guest experience pastor at our church, basically AKA first impressions pastor, people coming in. I'll be in charge of greeting teams and prayer teams, and basically being when people come into the house of God to feel welcome. And I think this is right up my alley. I think God has really been molding me and shaping me into this. And it's been, it's been crazy to see where I've come and where I'm at. But we're all on a journey, and I don't want to even though I'm up here kind of telling my journey, God has us all on a journey, and that doesn't matter where you're at in your life, in your journey, it's important, and God's there. Even though I never thought God was there for all the many years, working for the crazy dude in the cities up in North Dakota with John driving truck. God was there the whole time. And there are some verses a verse that really struck hard with me in the last months. It's 1 John 4:18. It says, perfect love drives out all fear. And God's love is so perfect, there's no room for fear in there. And I think over the years I didn't understand that, but with God, we shouldn't fear. And obviously there's going to be fears. Obviously this is life. Life comes at you hard, comes at us fast. But if we're in the Word daily, constantly, we're right with Him, it makes it a whole lot easier. And it's still a challenge for me, I'm not going to lie, given that daily time with God, it's still a challenge. And we're not perfect, obviously. We're human. But you know how you listen to music on the radio and you hear a song hundreds and hundreds of times, but you don't really listen to the lyrics? The other day, we're just driving to Cambridge. The song comes on. It's by Casting Crowns and Matthew West. It's called Nobody, the name of the song. And in the lyrics, one little part, it says, Moses had stage fright, and David brought a rock to a sword fight. You picked 12 outsiders nobody would have chosen, and you changed the world. Well, the moral of the story is everybody's got a purpose, And I feel like I'm a nobody many, many years, all these years. But you know what? We're all somebody. And God's using us. Even though you don't think, you don't have to become a pastor. You don't have to be in the ministry to change the world or feel like you're doing something for Christ. But where are you at right now in your job? The job that I was doing in the cities at the time where I didn't think, I was like, what am I doing here? There was a guy that I would work with every day, and he had many, many problems and challenges, and he was alcoholic and a drug addict, and he was just struggling. And he gave me a call last year out of the blue, and I said, Jared, is this you? He's like, Kyle. Sounded totally different from all the time I spent with him working. He goes, I just want to let you know it's because of you that my life is on track. I don't know why I'm crying. Oh, man. Why am I crying, Callie? I don't know why I'm crying. He said, all those talks you had in the truck with me, he just said that you changed my life, and he got his life on track, and he went to rehab, and he said he's been talking to Jesus, and so even though you don't think you're making a difference, or you feel like you're just in the mud, kind of like we were at last night, you're making a difference. And everything's going to work out. You're going to get married. It's all going to work out. And but God's so good, and I sometimes you just get wrapped up in your own problems and your own emotions, and you just kind of feel like you can kind of get in this rut of me, what's going on? But I think if you really think about it and get in God's Word, He'll show you the way and He'll show you the light, that there's more than just what you're doing right now. You're affecting a lot of people, and I just want to say thank you to everybody here. You've had a huge impact in our lives. You really have. And another one was that I told Dad when we first moved here, I said, I'm not going to come to your church because it's not our style. And we love this church, and we miss this church because it's you, because of everybody in this room. It really is. Our kids grew here. Landon got baptized here. It's crazy how, what God has done. And you have a lot to do with it. You really do. And Callie and I, we're just very grateful for everybody here. And, God had me on this journey, and now I'm starting a new journey. And in 4 years, I'll tell you all about it. So we'll pray. Father, we love you. Thank you again for this time together. Bless this church and our fellowship afterwards. Amen.